start with some sad news. James Gemitter, his mom, Kim Gemitter, suddenly passed away on Sunday morning, really early Sunday morning, and it was sudden. And just ask all Mountaineers to be thinking about James and his family and be praying for him. But wanted to make y'all aware of that. From that, go into the TCU, kind of recap the game. As I said after the game, and I feel the same way after watching the video, is our guys competed, they fought, they played the game the way you're supposed to play it on Saturday, and at the end of the day, we just didn't make enough plays at winning time. Not the outcome we wanted, but the standard of how we play that was met. Big missed opportunity. You don't get very many opportunities to play a top 10 team, undefeated team here at home, and so big missed opportunity. Kind of recap each phase. Special teams, I thought really nice job overall. Punt, we created a takeaway there. We covered really, really well against Darius Davis, who coming in the game was the leading returner in our league. Our punt block team affected a punt. Created, their net punting was, I think, almost half of what they had coming in the game. I thought our kickoff coverage did an outstanding job on Davis as well. Parker Grotehouse moved the ball around, and we covered. Really, the only negative aspect was our kickoff return unit wasn't very good. We started behind the 20 a couple of different times. We've struggled there. We've got to be better. But I thought our special teams really performed well on Saturday. Defensively, the first half was bad. Way too many explosive plays. But they gave us a chance to win in the second half. Thought we pressured more. We played the run much better. We tackled in space much better. We played a lot more man coverage and covered guys tighter. We got to build off that. The first half was absolutely that can't happen. But I thought the second half gave ourselves a chance to win. And offensively, statistically, did some really good things. And ran the ball against a team that hadn't been ran very much against. I think we had the highest run totals of the year maybe against them. And just didn't make enough plays at winning time. I thought 2 missed opportunities in the red zone after the takeaway on the punt was huge. And then having the ball 3rd and goal at the 4, not be able to score a touchdown. And then we missed a lot of shot plays, especially in the second half. We had guys open and getting connect with some of those balls down the field. I thought Sam James played really, really well and could have had, a huge game if we were able to connect because he was open a lot. And then the last drive was just extremely disappointing. That's what you want. You want your offense to have an opportunity to go win the game, and we had that, and we didn't take advantage of it. So, again, not the outcome we wanted, but thought our guys competed and proud of how they played, but disappointed in the outcome. So flip the page over to Iowa State. We traveled to Ames, and that's one of the toughest venues in the conference to play. If you haven't been there, if you have been there, you understand that. If you haven't, it's one of the most passionate fan bases. They're right on top of you. The students do a really good job. And it's a tough place to play. A lot of respect for Matt Campbell and his staff, what they've built there and what they've accomplished over his 6 years. Both teams coming to this game needing to win. It's pretty simple. By any means necessary, both teams need to win. Several close losses on both sides. And so I think for them it starts defensively. They're the top-ranked unit in our conference. They're playing extremely well versus the run and the pass. They a lot of new faces, but same product, and maybe even an improved product. For them, it always starts with the D-line. And I think they're always the guys that don't get talked about enough when we start talking about this defense. But the reason they're able to play the way they have over the last several years is because they've had multitudes of quality defensive linemen. And this year's no different. They rotate up to 7 or 8. They're big, they're long. They do a really good job in both the run and the pass game. McDonald, who seems like he's been there forever, is one of, if not the best pass rusher in our league. And the linebacker play is really good. They play downhill, and they're big guys. They're quite a bit larger than most linebackers in our league. The Vance number 34. He's been playing there for a long time. I think he's one of the most improved players in our league that I've seen this far. He's put on some weight. He's playing at a high level, and their secondary, a lot of new faces, but I think they're playing the pass better than they did a year ago, and so that's a credit to their staff, and they've gave them a chance to win every single game. And so offensively, they're difficult to prepare for. We talk about this every year we play them. Shifts, motions, more 12 personnel than you see in our league. They want to establish the run. They've had some struggles there, but that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to establish the run. And then Xavier Hutchinson, they're getting him the ball as many ways as you possibly can. He's the most targeted receiver in the country. I don't know if he has the most. I know he has the most catches in our league. If he doesn't have the most catches in the country, I bet it's close. They're extremely creative. He's got great ball skills. He wins one-on-ones. They've got some other receivers that are starting to step up too, where you can't just strictly go on him. I think Deckers is getting better. He throws a really nice ball. He stands in the pocket. He has courage. And then special teams wise, they're solid. They've got young specialists. Their punter is playing really well. They've gone to a very similar punt that we use. They're in the top 5 in the country in punt return defense. They're covering really well. And so it's a big challenge for us, and for us, it's about going on the road. We've won on the road against Virginia Tech, but our last 2 outings haven't been good enough. So we've got to go on the road and compete and give ourselves a chance to win on the road versus one of the best defenses in the country and a team that's got a lot to play for. So with that, we'll take questions.
So Neal, unfortunately, the same question we seem to ask every week in terms of injuries. So
I'm better prepared today. I've actually got the names. So Charles Woods played every snap, and it worked in our favor that we didn't have to play very many defensive snaps. And I thought he played well. He's not. If you were to ask him, he would tell you he's not 100%, but he played, and I thought he played really well against. He was matched up against Quentin Johnston a lot, and I thought he held his own. And I think, part of the reason we played better in the second half because we could do some things coverage-wise that we hadn't been able to do because we felt good about him in one-on-one. And so he'll be available. C.J. Donaldson will not play. He's going to miss the rest of the season. He'll be out. He had surgery yesterday. Nah, not a knee. Not something that'll keep him out a really long time, but he'll miss the rest of the year. Rashad Ajayi, we hope he's going to run today. Hopefully he'll practice tomorrow, so I would say he's probable. Gamitter will miss. Wyatt Milam, who was hurt against Tech, played the whole game. He'll be back. Tony Mathis will be kind of a later in the week decision. Doug Nestor will be back. He'll practice today. Davis Mallinger will miss this week. How long he'll be out, not sure. Anybody else have? Dixon will miss. Yeah, he'll miss. He's still out. Spells should practice. He's going to run today, and hopeful he'll practice tomorrow, so he would be probable as well. Moo is going to practice today. Okay, so but I think going back to Lance, there's a chance, but I'm going to say very doubtful for Dixon. Okay. Justin Johnson played Saturday, was banged up. He only practiced 1 day last week. He's going to practice this week and with the hope of playing. Yes.
So what do you do at running back if Mathis?
Yeah, so we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see kind of how Tony does, and it has to be. And I give you all the same answer, which I know is not necessarily what you want to hear, but the reality of it is anytime there's injury, while you hate it for the guy, all right, for that individual, and you have limited depth, but it creates opportunities. It creates opportunities. And so Jalen Anderson has to be ready to go. Justin Johnson, if he's fully healthy, he's got an opportunity to start. And then Jalen Anderson's got to have to be ready to go. Ruckert's got to be on deck, and then we've got to be creative as coaches too to create some carries. And so that's what we'll do. But hey, it rolls on, and trust me, I wish we had CJ, I wish we had Tony, I wish we had all of them. And we've ran the ball well, but we've also ran the ball pretty good regardless of who's been back there. And so if it's Jalen, if it's JJ, if it's Rucker, whoever it is, the expectation we've got to block, and they've got to make the right read and be able to break some tackles.
How did you feel Jalen fared,
Yeah, he did. I thought he had a nice short yardage run. He had one run where he broke a couple tackles. He didn't really have a chance on that. We missed a block right at the point of attack, so that one's in the last drive. That's not a fair evaluation. He had the drop pass, but I thought in that situation in the fourth quarter against a top 10 opponent, I thought he carried himself just fine. The expectation he'll be better this week, after having some experience.
Yeah, what do you mean by create some carries? It sounds.
Yeah, we just, you only got it. The running backs I named, that's all we got. You know what I mean? That's all. Colin McBee, and we could get, that's our running back room. So like you got to start being creative after that, because that's all we got. So we're going to go with every intention to use all the running backs we have, but we got to be ready to go if we don't. Not that that's ideal.
Does that at all mean maybe more short passing game to kind of create runs, even though they're not literally runs?
Yeah, I think you got to be creative. Like the screen game comes into effect for sure. Yeah, screen game comes into effect. We got to find a role for Garrett Green to continue to grow. You just got to figure out a way. It's like they're not going to call off the game if we run out of running backs all of a sudden. So we got to figure out a way, and we will.
Creative. You mentioned Garrett there. You used him some at slot, and
yeah, he deserves to play. And he made 2 key catches the other day. He's still a quarterback. He's a quarterback, and I want to be clear about that. But he's one of our best skill players, so we got to continue to find ways. And I'm in favor of playing him more too. So we'll continue to figure out some ways with him. But he is versatile. He's a good athlete. He's like one of these guys. It doesn't matter what you're playing. He's got pretty good skill set.
You mentioned, Neal, that both these teams have lost close games.
Yeah.
I've almost been losing sleep trying to figure out for years, if losing close games is a good sign or a bad sign.
You've been covering games a lot longer than I've been coaching them, so
realization as to why that happens, and does it mean you're ready for the next step?
I think that's a great question, Bob. I think for us, I can't speak to them. For us on the close games, it comes down to really, and I'm oversimplifying this, okay, but and as an offensive coach, I tend to slant where I look at things, but it comes down to turnover margin and touchdowns in the red zone. I think that's. I don't want to speak on Iowa State because I haven't sit there and broken their games down and why. I've broken their games down, but I haven't really looked at why they've lost some close games this year. They've won most of those games in the past. They've won, if you look back, over the last 3 and 4 years, they've won a lot of those close games. But for us, we have lost some. We've won some, but we've lost quite a few really close games. I think it goes back to those 2 factors: turnover margin, which wasn't a factor last Saturday, but the touchdowns in the red zone definitely were.
You mentioned the defense being better in the second half. How do you make sure that carries over into Iowa State versus the first half?
Well, I think confidence will help. I think that having, that group was the top-ranked offense in our league. And y'all can check me on that, but I'm pretty sure going into the game, I don't know how they came out of the game, but going into the game, they were a top-ranked offense in the league. They'd ran the ball for 200-plus yards in every league game coming in, and they'd scored 38-plus. And we held them to without a touchdown until the 4th one go ball, in the second half. So they had 2 field goals before that, and we had created some opportunities to get them off the field. And so our confidence level should grow. And I think it's just about figuring out, like, with the pieces we got, how to make them the most successful. And we were more aggressive in the second half. And I would argue that that's a better formula for us at this stage where we're at, just to be more aggressive.
Bob's question about close losses. As the week goes on and you study them, do you look for reasons or why they're losing these close games to maybe kind of figure out, okay, we get into this game and we're in this situation, what's happening, why are these?
Yeah. They're playing a lot of low scoring games. So the thing that's unique about them is lower possession games than normal. Fewer amount of plays in their games than normal on both sides of the ball. And so in their they've been in lower scoring games than almost everybody else in our league. So that's the thing that's unique. And so, we will, as we get going in the week, and once we get post installing the game plan today and you start looking to, some situational things, those will creep into it for sure. But that's the things that stick out to me right now that are a little bit unique about this team is the lower number of possessions, lower number of plays, and the score of those games.
Much of an emphasis this week will be on the first quarter, the start, considering the start at Texas and at Texas Tech.
Well, I'm trying to answer this question in reality. So you go and you're we're going to change some things from a travel situation, right? Do I believe that's why we started slow? Absolutely not. But when it hasn't worked, you change, right? I think it's important you change because we started in a pretty good way against Virginia Tech. We started not bad against Pitt. So I laughed and told them we're going to bust. We're going to bust to Ames rather than fly. Maybe that's the reason. They didn't think that was so funny, but. But, I don't know. We're going to change up some things in our routine. We're going to and what we're doing on Friday, what we're doing on Saturday to get off the plane. We actually flew to Virginia Tech. We actually flew to Virginia Tech. We drove to Pitt, but we flew to Virginia Tech. But we're going to switch up some things in our deal. And I think we can do some things as coaches early in the game maybe to help us out. So we're going to exhaust everything possible. That's the goal. To start fast. Anytime you're on the road, man, you want to start fast, try to keep the crowd out of it.
Do you have any thoughts kind of to that end on the roller coasterness, I guess, of the season, bringing up that you have the Baylor win, kind of the vibe even improved, but then it dips back again. And then last week, certainly playing really well against a top 10 opponent, but there's going to be critics out there that are going to say that the trend then would just be to dip back down.
Yeah, and what I would say here's what I would say is because I got to look at the whole thing all the time, right? Y'all get to write about it and then leave it. I got to live it all the time, which sometimes not real fun. But so the only game, all right, that I really have an issue with how we played, okay, is at Texas Tech. Now Texas, we didn't play well, right? We didn't play well, but the product is not. We just didn't make plays, right? And we had some drops and things like that. The only issue where we weren't mentally ready to play, we didn't play the game in the correct manner was the Texas Tech game. All right, so for us now is, all right, how do we get off this? And we got to make our guys understand that the standard's a standard. You have to play up to the standard, regardless if we play on the Moon or we play in Ames, Iowa, or we play here in Morgantown, West Virginia. The standard is a standard, and regardless of where we play, who we play, you've got to play the game in the correct manner. So that's the focus this week. That's the message. This is going to be a 4-quarter game that's going to be extremely physical. That's going to go into the fourth quarter. And then when it becomes winning time, we've got to be able to make those winning type plays that we didn't make a week ago.
You said Ames is a tough place to play. It seems like everywhere you've been could be called a tough place to play. Is there different place to place, or is a tough place just a tough place?
Yeah, the thing that's different about I don't think every place is a tough place. If you went back and I probably didn't say a tough place on every one of them. All right, so there's probably a clue there. But the thing that Ames does a really good job of, their students are there, and they're right behind the bench. They're vocal. I thought Ames was a really hard place to play when I was a coordinator in the league back in 10 and 11 and 12, playing there twice. Their fans always come, regardless what their record is or how the game's going there, and they're really loud into it. And the acoustics of the stadium are very similar to ours. You know, like our stadium wasn't full on Saturday, but it got really loud there at certain times of the game, and it's the same for in Ames, and it's not an easy place to travel to too.
Iowa State's defense the scheme was very unique originally. Do you see it a lot more now, and what makes it so good?
So you see the structure of it more, Greg. Like TCU is structured very similar. You know, multiple teams in our Kansas State is structured very similar. They all have their different nuances. Iowa State was the originator of this kind of 3 safety, and they play their run fits are unique. You know, they play the run different, and then they have all the answers. You know, that's the thing. Like defense coordinator, he does a great job, and he makes really good adjustments in the game. And you look at their second half, and there's multiple reasons why they're better in the second half, but you look at their second half, and it's impressive really over the last 3 years what they've done defensively in the second half of ball games.
So carry over there then, because you talked about TCU getting from 3 to 8-man box just like that. Same deal, right?
Same exact deal. Yeah. You know, you look at it and you're saying, oh, man, they're playing, 5-man in the box. They're playing 4-man in the box. Well, it's an illusion, because they got everybody's eyes are in the backfield. So the minute that ball goes to the belly of the running back, they have the ability to get, one more than you can block at all times.
You mentioned not the Texas Tech game not being ready to play. Does the coach sense that during the week coming up? And what are the dynamics that happen? Like you turn around this week, Kansas State beats Oklahoma State 48-0. That comes out of what will.
Yeah, that's so against Tech, like you don't. A lot of times you do, Bob. A lot of times you feel it and you kind of you're worried about it. And that's more the case kind of when you're rolling, and because you worried about complacency, that's. But we actually practice well. We practiced really well on Wednesday against Texas Tech. Not very good on Tuesday, and then our pregame stuff Saturday morning was good. The issue at Texas Tech was how we responded when the offense didn't score when it was 17-7. That was the issue in that game. If you look at everything up to that point, and we went 4 possessions in a row without scoring, and when it's 17-7, and for whatever reason, as a football team, we did not respond. Not that we played great before that, but the response wasn't very good. But to answer your question, no, you don't. I didn't sense that. If I did, we there's some things you can do to kind of whether it's talking, whether it's doing some different things from a practice perspective. If you sense that, then you can fix that, all right, or make a chance to fix it.
Is there anything you can do mid-game if something like that happens, like if a Texas Tech game is unraveling and maybe you're even wondering about effort or whatever during the week that matriculated to the game? Is it just, oh man, we're kind of screwed today, or is there anything?
No, you got. I don't think. Yeah, no. I don't think you ever wave the white flag. Yeah, I don't think you ever wave the white flag. No, a couple things happened that game. Some of your emotional people, really like a Tony Mathis getting hurt within a game. That was really Wyatt Milam, those things. And then JT struggling for probably the first time. That's kind of. I think those are some issues, and those are excuses. So I'm not saying that's why, but I'm saying the potential from an emotional standpoint. Those are some reasons why that could have happened. Does that make sense? But I don't think you ever throw the white flag up. You try to fight it every bit of it. It didn't work in that game. It's worked some other ones,
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there anything in particular, generally speaking, not even just maybe getting away from that game, that if it does occur this week, that maybe a fan could look for?
Yeah, well, I think that if you look at it, like our second half at Texas was much better. Our comeback versus Kansas. I think there was some times in that TCU game and the Baylor game we're down 10, and fight back and get into it. The TCU game, there were some times where that game kind of teetered and we fought back and got into it. And so I think those are some positive things that have happened this year.
Going back to your point on the secondary being more aggressive, or I guess the defense, not just the secondary. Earlier in the season, I don't think that was probably the opinion, that maybe that wouldn't have been a good idea because different reasons. Feel better about certain things, or is it as simple as having Charles back and that helps?
Well, I think that helps. You know, a real simple answer to that, Mike, is having Charles back, it helps. The other thing too is, like, we've got several guys out now, right? And I think you got to play to your strengths sometimes. You know, sometimes, like, you know where you have your issues, and you're trying to cover up some of your issues sometimes, when maybe the better answer is to play to your strengths. And so that's what I've encouraged our defensive staff is, let's just play to our strengths, you know. And now Charles allows us to do that, and we can play some different coverage types because he doesn't need as much help. And so I think that, that allows you. You know, I think that's a fair assumption.
Do you have other strengths now that you have acquired or developed?
Well, we're starting to blitz better. Yeah. You know, we're starting to blitz better. And so I thought we hit home with some blitzes on Saturday. It's the first time. And really, you know, late in the Texas Tech game, we hit home on a couple blitzes, you know. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then and we won some one-on-one pass rush in some one-on-one pass rush situations. You know, we were dropping 8 there, probably a little bit more than we needed to. So we started, our strength at our defense right now is in our front, you know, and allowing them more opportunities to do what they do best.
70-man travel roster you mentioned before. Sometimes that's difficult, even though it sounds like a lot. You massage that. Does Rucker have to travel?
Yeah. So he'll definitely travel for sure. We'll travel. And really, it comes down to who's available on Wednesday. You know, like almost not everybody on our team, but nearly everyone on our team at this point in their career would need to practice by Wednesday to be able to play. There's a few exceptions to that. Okay, so after Wednesday's practice, we'll finalize the travel roster based on who is able to practice Wednesday.
Thank you, Coach.
Is that it? Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you all.